But now we are on to game 3, and this is where we start to feel a little bit of the pinch from Fearless. Typically it is the games 4 and 5 that really have those pools constricted, but even in game 3 you can start to feel a little bit of, well, wait, hold on, these pools are getting a little too slim here. So I'm curious how the draft is going to play out this time as VKS are on the blue side, PSG on the red, and let's see what we get. It's some arcane bans for VKS. Caitlyn and Vi both banned away as bans 1 and 2. Meanwhile, PSG, they do not want to deal with Nico. They will keep her out of the game.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. Nico just so incredibly strong, especially as you get this deep into champion, or into Fearless draft. I imagine Azhi going to be kept. I imagine Orianna going to be kept, as you're saying. I don't know exactly what takes that like first pick position. Although, if I'm VKS, do I ban away the Yunara in the hopes that they ban Orianna? Because otherwise, maybe you just leave one of those really strong picks open and hope you can pick the other. Well,
the thing is about the Orianna, both mid laners have played a couple games of it, excuse me, so far this summer, but not a lot. Again, it's a champion that's had a lot of presence, I feel like, all over the world. It's a champion that's been banned a lot, so not super surprised to not see it with a high number of picks for either one of our mid laners here. Lee Sin banned away, the Karsa Classic. This is not a champion that is powerful in the meta. This is not a champion that's super high on the tier list or the priority, but it is a champion that Karsa has worked miracles on in seasons past.
And there is when you win MSI on this champion, kind of makes sense to maybe take it away when your elimination hopes and dreams are on the line. So LeBlanc could be banned. So both Orianna and Yunara open. Now, what is the priority here for VKS?
So interestingly enough, yes, that Orianna is open. I would expect that to be the priority, but also the Akali is available. So if they want to just take the Yunara instead, then the other side, sure, they'll take Orianna for Maple, but then if Mireu takes the Akali, he's comfortable on that.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. Great call, Flares, because it just opens up the draft so much. And again, it's the only thing I'd be worried about is something like a Nocturne Orianna as an answer. Because even though you have the Akali, I think the ability to punish the Yunara by looking for picks with a Nocturne Orianna could potentially work out in your favor with just how much damage and upfront burst there is. We'll have to see if that is going to be the plan or what is going to be the answer for PSG Talon.
All right, well, the Orianna that we expected traded for the Yunara. That's the handshake of leaving them both open. So far we're correct, but let's see. Because the Nocturne, I feel like, probably not super highly prized for Disamis, although it is one that he has had quite a few plays on so far this year, or this split at least, excuse me. And it looks like we might have a graphics error. I'm not sure what champion was locked in for the side of PSG. Hopefully we can get that updated ASAP to figure it out and see what that one was. But the selector is back on the VKS side.
Yeah, I imagine you're going to pick your jungle here, try and answer for, I imagine, what Karsa locked in for himself as well, and then the support. And at that stage, you're in a pretty good spot. We just got the heads up that Karsa did lock in the Naafiri on the opposite side, and it's a Nocturne taken by Disamis instead. And there's the Akali you were talking about, Flowers.
All right, I guess I was a little bit wrong. That Nocturne is the pick for Disamis because he has had 3 plays on it so far in summer. The only 2 picks that he has played more, and he's played a lot more of them to be fair, are Jarvan and Xin. Those are obviously both removed because of Fearless. Wukong and Pantheon are a couple more of the champions that he's played as much as this, but hey, those are removed because of Fearless. So happy to pick up the Nocturne here. Mireu on the Akali, just like we were expecting, ready to slam that one despite it being banned in the first couple of games. Mireu is exceptional on this champion. It's one of his most played. And that Naafiri for Karsa. Naafiri versus Nocturne, this is setting up for a spicy jungle matchup.
This is a very spicy jungle matchup, and match in general, because when you look at the way Nocturne wants to operate here, he's more about turning off the lights and causing chaos, rather than fully synergizing with the Akali. Can still do it on some of the dive, but more about causing chaos for PSG. And when you're trying to work with an Orianna Shockwave, something that is protecting the Naafiri in that command protect from the Orianna, being able to disrupt that can be vital for the success for VKS. But if PSG Talon can enable this Naafiri with invades to get the leads that we've seen Karsa get before in this champion, that is going to be very, very scary for the VKS side.
All right, let's check out what we've got in the second half of the bans here. As Rek'Sai is the first ban for PSG, they know that VKS do not have their top lane locked in yet. K'Sante picked up for PSG. Feels like a pretty powerful option into a lot of choices, but of course, we know how annoying Rek'Sai can be. The champion is so difficult to punish, it's so difficult to heal because it just heals, or it's so difficult to kill, excuse me, because it heals so much. Over on the other side, it's focus onto the AD carry pool, since that's the advantage that VKS already has that PSG doesn't. Xayah banned away.
I think, I was actually going to say Poppy might be needed to be banned. Very strong into the K'Sante in that top side. Thank you, Broken Blade. Much love to you. And I think that could also be very strong into things like the Naafiri, trying to lock that down and just provide that tank front line that you want for something like Yunara with the peel.
And of course, if PSG want to take the Poppy themselves, they can absolutely do it here on their fourth pick. We'll see if VKS want to spin that last ban on it. What's it going to be? No, double AD carry bans instead. They're going to ban out two of those scrappy lane AD carries with the Xayah and Lucian combined. Rek'Sai and Aatrox banned out by PSG, so double top lane bans from them. Now let's see what we get.
So basically identifying VKS don't have any real sort of engage in the draft. So PSG just saying, look, we'll take the Braum. We imagine that Trymbi's going to go for something like the Nautilus here, or the Rakan on that bottom, the Nautilus on that bottom side, and we should be fine then into the matchup. Okay. But and even if you do try and go for some sort of engage elsewhere, I don't think there's much Boal can really bring to the engage side of things in that top lane, at least from what we've seen in the meta at the moment.
There's not a lot of engage on either side so far, honestly, Dagda. Like, yeah, Glacial Fissure is a much better counter-engage tool than it is an engage tool. And Shockwave is good to follow up an engage, but catching somebody out with it just directly can be a little tricky.
It is, but there is the Doggle. And Naafiri can just send herself in and go, okay, I will be that engage tool, and then it will just immediately pop the W. We get the big shockwave, and then I can follow up afterwards. So that can be a pseudo engage tool. There's that Poppy we're talking about for Boal, I imagine, in the top lane. It looks like Trymbi not going to go for engage, for the beefy engage tools, instead looking at the Bard for that tempered fate.
No Poppy plays so far in summer 2025 from Boal, so this will be his first Poppy. Trymbi on the Bard. We're gonna need to see some seriously accurate tempered fates. This is your main engage coming out from the side of VKS. Nocturne can fly in, Akali can fly in beside him, but again, it's not like there's immediate lockdown next to that.
Yeah, I think though the issue is what do you try and do as, okay, I was gonna say it's Betty here. You want something with a little bit of peel. Xayah going to be the tool, because a tempered fate onto an immobile AD carry and also the Orianna could completely remove any sort of follow PSG Talon had to engage. So it looks like Betty going to be able to peel for himself and avoid any sort of mishap from either the tempered fate or that darkness from the Nocturne.
All right, how are we feeling about these two comps? Do we feel like there's a specific edge for either side, or is it more down to the execution?
I mean, VKS need to snowball. You've got Nocturne and Akali, two assassins that really want to be able to decimate this backline in PSG Talon, and you have the potential to do it, but if you start to fall behind, that becomes very difficult to do so. But on PSG Talon, I just think it's much easier to execute. You have strong front to back, you have this Naafiri that can actually be that engage tool alongside the Orianna Shockwave, your own pseudo Nocturne Orianna combo, and then you can have self-peel on your Xayah, which makes it easier then to try and protect the rest of your backline.
So probably advantage PSG then.
I think so,
unless VKS can really snowball early.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Poppy will get value in trying to block things like the Naafiri, also trying to block things like the K'Sante, which can hurt the engage from PSG's side, but it's going to be tough. But if VKS can find this early lead, I think they have the ability to just snowball out of control with this double assassin comp.
And I think a lot of that pressure is going to be on Mireu. It's going to be on this Akali that, remember, was banned for the first couple of games. It's going to be on this pick that is supposed to be one of his best champions. And I think that that's the pressure that Worlds brings. That's the pressure you have to be able to rise to if you want to stay competing here. This is it. This is the last game for one of these two squads at Worlds 2025 as we take the Rift for the last time in this best of 3.
So much of this game is going to come down to execution in the moment. These small, minute details that are either going to keep your year alive or end it right here. And already VKS trying to get aggressive and get that vision down, but it's been responded by PSG.
Yeah, PSG just flinging a couple feathers back at him here. You can see the early ward of the pixel brush there, dropped on the PSG side. Meanwhile, Disamis hanging around the enemy jungle. Oftentimes, you do want to see like the late Raptor ward placed down just to keep an eye on what the enemy jungle path looks like. Azhi has the defensive early ward here. Oh, not Azhi, excuse me. Karsa placed that one down. Azhi still has his ward available to place.
I like this positioning from Boal though, because as the Cassante tries to move back into the lane, you'll be able to get some good damage, and that's kind of the advantage of a Poppy in the early stages. But Disamis hovering barely out of vision. This is so good from Disamis.
Disamis is going to Karsa. Karsa, he throws out the Duskbringer, immediately finds the dog. He's hungry for a little bit of a hot dog lunch. Karsa flashes away. Disamis, Duskbringer first blood level 1.
Revenge is a dish best served as a cold owl hot dog, as Disamis manages to pick off Karsa and put him in the dirt.
And you can see he doesn't go back to the red buff because at level 1, the respawn timers are very long. Instead, he's going straight to the chicken camp instead. Burn that one down fast with Nocturne's powerful AoE, hit your level 2 immediately, and then switch it up and go to the Krugs. If Karsa wants to come back to the red, he'll find it still intact, but Disamis is stealing away everything else.
And you get to keep this pressure, but Mireu
still just walking away here, down to 100 HP. This Akali taking some real pain from that clockwork windup from Maple.
Yeah, Doran's shield and that pot bringing back a lot of HP. Definitely needed it, but Maple doing a good job of keeping control in this mid lane. Still though, like you can see Disamis, he does such a good job here. Playing around that ward perfectly. Barely eking around the edge, just out of vision. Incredibly well played. And as the ward goes down, you kind of already realize as Karsa, I'm in trouble, and it's already ended for me. He knows even with the flash, was hoping that maybe he could escape, but Disamis times it perfectly with the Q.
Yeah, knowing the cooldowns, knowing he could flash and get one more auto attack, one more Q. Play the sad help the animals commercial, Dagda. That dog is in some trouble. As Karsa now down about 400 gold here early. Disamis with the early lead, feeling pretty good about it. Now clearing through his own red side jungle. Karsa thought about maybe stepping up a little further forward there, but no, he's just gonna go back, pick up the crab.
Ooh, Morttheus taking a lot of damage though. Still out to back away. As you say, Karsa will get the crab. May also look towards me because this wave is not in a good position for Mireu, immediately exiting out that top side, as Disamis is going to reignite his red buff here as he finishes out his own.
Karsa is going to see exactly what's going on, and he wants a little bit of revenge. Disamis wisely dropping his ward inside that brush, wants to make sure that Karsa can't play around this, as immediately the fear already connects. Trymbi coming up to try to help Disamis. Karsa is low, Disamis is lower. Trymbi trying to get the kill there. They finally take out Karsa, but now it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's VKS in trouble. Betty's still getting away. Mireu needs one more hit. He gets it. The feat of warfare secured by PSG by a split second, and it's a 4-3 game, 4 minutes into the game.
PSG Talon completely turned the play around. It's the roam from bot lane that turns it in their favor. Disamis thinks he has the play with Trymbi on the Bard being able to react first, but with the wave crashing for Morttheus, he can't respond. And Woody is getting so much value from the Braum in this. Stun 1, kill. Trymbi moves towards mid. Stun 2, kill. And as Mireu goes in with this E, ends up miscalculating barely the damage that he needs, which means one more auto attack goes down, and if you had just a bit more damage onto Maple, maybe it would have been enough. But that Braum getting so much work done here.
And you can see the despair on the staff of Vivo Cade Stars as they realize this early game where they had that advantage from the initial invade, excuse me, from Disamis has now turned into a PSG advantage. Maple's Orianna at 2-0 now. And this is the last dance here for Maple if PSG do not secure the win in this game. The last dance, excuse me.
Hey, look, we might have a last dance, we'll see, but for Maple, it's been a long time coming. This guy's been around for so long, has been a veteran of the LPL, the LCP, has existed on so many iterations of so many different teams, and to be playing for over a decade at this stage and still be hitting Worlds is such an incredible accomplishment.
Exactly, 2-0 on this Ori early on. They want to win this game. They want to make sure this isn't the last game that we see Maple in at Worlds, and they're going to keep doing everything they can to make that a reality. It is a very small lead for PSG after that bloodbath at the VKS red buff, and now Karsa is wrapping around to look for a gank here in the bottom lane. Woody stepping forward, heal coming out from the VKS support as they back away. Karsa level 5 here with the Naafiri. Pretty scary stuff. That control ward's going to get cleared out by Disamis, but there's no more fight to be had.
Disamis still has an advantage though with the Tiamat fully completed, whereas Karsa just sitting on the 2 longswords. So VKS still looking to fight. The stun is there, but the Braum, the value from these stuns is so high in these fights.
It just does so much. You just tag the guy, all right, it's up to the rest of the team to do the work. Tag the next guy, all right, rest of the team to do the work. You can just make sure that everybody is controlled all at once. Disamis on the Nocturne, that Tiamat can do so much to accelerate a clear that is already very fast. And once Disamis hits level 6, which is just one more camp, I do want to see how much value he can get out of the paranoia. I feel like Nocturne is one of those champions similar to something like Karthus, where you have that extremely long cooldown in the jungle on the ulti, so you have to make sure you're getting value every time you cast.
Karsa hopping over the wall here. Looks like he wants to try and get again into this jungle. Has the push in mid, plus Woody to help him out. Actually, it's going to be the scuttle, but again, what started off as Disamis trying to be creative and get that early advantage, now just hasn't really netted into anything, thanks to that invade on the bottom side for PSG. So all things considered, it's still PSG Talon with a slight gold lead, but the presence on the map, that is the much more crucial part for shutting down this sort of double assassin comp.
Trymbi rotating into mid now to try to help Mireu, who is feeling the additional pressure of Woody's presence up here. Woody now making his way up towards the top side of the map. Mireu level 7 on the Akali, does have the Hex Tech alternator for the extra little bit of burst here in the trades, but Maple's already got his catalyst. You can see picking up the tier 1 boots and the blasting wand now as well, working towards getting that Rod of Ages online as early as possible. And I feel like that whenever you have a champion that wants to build these stacking items, like a Rod of Ages, like a Yuntal Wild Arrows, anything that just needs to stack to be full power, getting a couple early kills is just that much stronger than even it would normally be.
It really is, and it just sets you up so nicely. But Karsa now just hit level 6 as he got into the pit, so that Maple Karsa combo could start to come alive if VKS end up overextending just a little bit. Don't have the Poppy in position to try and block that combo from PSG Talon.
Exactly. Neither one of the top laners has their teleport available to try to join this fight. Disamis wants to step forward and at least try to smite one of the grubs away. He will get the single one. Paranoia has already been cast. Mireu tries to move forward, but the Feather Storm already flies out. Void grubs overall secure by the side of PSG. Disamis wants to jump in, but Betty's going to stay safe. The barrier isn't even needed as Mireu's the next target here for Karsa. He keeps himself invulnerable for an extra second and jumps back over the wall. Now Boal's going to be your next target. He has to flash away. PSG, they come out +1 grub, +1 kill.
Disamis thought once that Feather Storm was gone, he might have a chance of picking off Betty, but the rest of the team can't set up. And again, Morttheus is trying so hard to get into these fights, but he just can't do it.
And Mireu's Akali also not getting the chances he needs to find that massive burst damage that Akali has to find to win the fights. Let's take another look.
And look at how the darkness plays a massive factor here as well, because as we start to play into this, you'll see the Braum stun is nearly on towards I think it's Trymbi as the start of this, or maybe it is Disamis as we go into the pit, but you're not able to follow up because there's no vision of Disamis as they go into the pit. And as to Mireu, sorry, they'd love one more auto attack, but they're just not able to see him thanks to the shadow and then everything else. And then as Disamis goes in, Betty gets a great feather pullback, which just shuts down the fight. But Morttheus can't just sit on a target and deal the DPS he wants to. He's essentially chasing after all these members of PSG as they're jumping in and out, and can't really be the threat you want him to be in that fight.
Exactly. He gets to shoot Braum, which is exactly what PSG wants him doing because it means he can't be effective. Now PSG moving over to the first Drake. They'll have the Scuttle Crab right next to it as a side dish, and it doesn't look like anybody from VKS has anything to say about it. PSG going to secure their second objective of the game.
And as you already said, Maple is so accelerated in this game. The early Rod of Ages and the ability to now just pretty handily side lane into this Akali is huge for PSG, because that's really the big issue with Orianna, is how vulnerable she is in a side lane. But when you just deal more damage than your opposition, and you get more of a shield, and you get tankier because of the Rod of Ages, it makes that threat significantly less viable for VKS.
And one thing that I always look at in 2025 League of Legends specifically, when you're accelerated with Rod of Ages and you're able to purchase it at about 10 minutes, 10.5 minutes, that means it hits 10 stacks and you get that huge power spike at Otacon, which is where we see so many bloodbaths, so many throws, and Mireu now pulled back by the shockwave, having to use the ulti defensively to get himself away. And with Woody's help, Maple just continues finding himself in great positions in this game. Karsa wants to jump in with the ulti, but Trymbi's here to try to protect Mireu. PSG, they have more men in the area, but it's not going to stay that way for long. Maple caught up here in the Tempered Fade. Mireu looking for a little bit more. Boal has joined, and so is Morttheus. It's everybody from VKS. Maple's already down, and it looks like VKS wants a little bit more. Keeper's verdict, knocking one away. Azhi needs some damage back, and he goes all out to find Mireu. Betty still safe for now. Karsa trapped in the pit, but can just jump right over pretty easily. Morttheus still chasing. Maybe an Arc of Ruin. No, nothing more to find. It's a 2-for-1 for VKS.
At least PSG Talon gets something back, but it's a nice collapse for VKS. PSG way overextending there, and honestly, Maple needed to flash the Tempered Fate before it actually hit. So good damage and turnaround here, but Trymbi on the roam up interrupts Karsa as he goes to the play, and at this stage they try to back away, realize that TP's coming in. Maple needed to flash that though, because that would have given the opportunity for PSG to start to walk away from this. But as VKS all collapse, you've got the follow-up from Disamis. Morttheus is in a fantastic spot to actually turn on this play. I thought once Boal knocked Betty away, this was going to be a turnaround play for VKS, but Azhi able to get enough space after the kill to escape.
And we're back to a nearly even gold state, Dagda. This game is looking like it's going to be another close one. We have about 2.5 minutes till both the Rift Herald and the second Drake spawn. Whenever those timers are synced up, it does make things a little bit interesting as Betty's forced to use the Featherstorm there. The exhaust from the Summoner Spellbook from Trymbi, putting the pressure on the enemy AD carry. But now PSG's coming around from the side. Trymbi's gonna pay the price, taken low, taken out. Nice moves coming in from PSG, but Mireu wants one back. He's exhausted, but Karsa chases him too far, and it's a 1-for-1 trade.
VKS are responding well to the PSG plays, but still, they're getting these kills back and forth. Karsa getting that combo we were talking about with Maple works out well to begin with, but Mireu answering back, and it's Boal who didn't have to move, so he gets some turret plating on the side.
Yep, a little bit of extra money for the Poppy, and I think that as this game goes on, as we continue to see what looks like it's going to be a bloodbath of team fights, Boal's accuracy with Keeper's Verdict is going to play a huge role in how these fights go. If he can knock out multiple players from PSG, turn a fight into a 3v5, then you got some serious danger. Disamis just flies in like a ballistic missile to take out Betty, who still had half cooldown remaining on his Featherstorm. Morttheus with the Arc of Ruin to slow down Karsa, the Tempered Fate to lock him up further, but they don't have enough damage. He gets away with the Blast Cone for now, and Morttheus hits him with a couple more orbs to take him out.
It may not be the end of it though. Azhi is desperately trying to fight for this wave to keep it away from the tower, but Boal is slowly encroaching, and so is the rest of VKS.
And it's so hard to kill Boal, even though it looks like he's low, because he has Sundered Sky. The amount of healing you get from this item is really, really powerful, and so Boal feels encouraged to continue moving forward. Steadfast Presence stops Cassante from moving forward, and that just means that no more fights to be had.
But there is one with a stone turret on the bottom side for Mireu. That's what VKS are constantly doing. They are putting pressure onto PSG, but always having another lane in their favor. So Mireu again collapses a wave. Again, PSG Talon lose out on the side lane. And now with Dragon in 30 seconds, we're seeing a ton of these items already completed. And I think about half more going to be finished off here for VKS right before that objective spawns.
Stride Breaker done for Nocturne is absolutely massive. The active part of this item is so helpful for securing your paranoia kills, and Morttheus just gets obliterated. Nice pick from PSG.
That was exactly what PSG Talon needed to do, because as VKS will come back onto the map, they will be terrifying. But Morttheus not having flash, not having that ult dodge, makes it very difficult to escape this combo from the mid jungle of PSG Talon, and they use it perfectly.
PSG going to secure their second Drake of the game here, continue stacking those objectives. However, that also means they're going to secure themselves the boots. They've already got 2 neutrals. That'll be their third. So it's feats of strength for the PSG side here in game number 3 as the Rift Herald is on the map, but it was the Dragon the priority for PSG. They know that's the easier one to take. They know that's the one they'll be able to get. They're still trying to defend this tier 1 turret down here. Mireu's clearing waves critically. ticks level 11 on the Akali, so second level of the ulti.
Yeah, VKS also aware the PSG are down here because they saw the Krugs being started by Karsa. So still hovering to make sure that Mireu will be safe and can freeze his wave so no extra pressure can come towards him.
All right, Maple just continuing the shove out there. Disamis wants to jump in, but the problem is it's 2v3 right now. Mireu continuing to jump forward, and Maple is down. Woody and Karsa now trying to get away. Mireu's got to be careful to not be stunned up underneath the turret. Karsa still running. Morttheus from the side. Jumps in point blank range for the Arc of Ruin. And Karsa, he flashes too late. He's already down. Trymbi goes forward, but they don't even need the stun. It's a double kill for Morttheus. The Yunara shows him what he's got.
The VKS playbook of playing pick after pick after pick is still alive in this game number 3, and PSG Talon are struggling to keep pace. Once more, they're desperate to try and keep VKS at bay. We'll see it as we get into this. So already, VKS are aware the PSG Talon are on this bottom side. The Krugs are already taking half damage thanks to the double Q from Karsa. But Disamis sees the opportunity that he needs, and great play and patience from Mireu. Waits for the ultimate from the Braum before he goes over, and then finishes off the kill onto Maple. Majority of the gold now gone, and Morttheus sees his opportunity, doesn't quite hit the slow. But Kraken Slayer Yunara is so strong at this point in the game, and they rip through the jungle support of PSG Talon.
And that's what it looked like. Karsa not keeping track of the Kraken proc, flashing away when he thinks it would have took 2 more auto attacks to kill him, but the Kraken Slayer bears its fangs and takes him out. 0, 5, and 6 for Karsa on this Naafiri has constantly been punished by VKS here in game number 3. Morttheus now with Runon's Hurricane fully completed, with Cole cashed in. Mireu in the mid lane, he's got his rocket belt already done, and Shadow Flame is just about ready to slide across the cashier's till. This next purchase is going to make that Akali even stronger, and Disamis is starting up the Herald on his own.
Yeah, the Rift Herald might be the credit card that he needs to buy that purchase, because if you can play that on a side lane and get him a little bit of extra gold, Mireu can be so strong. But even taking this mid lane structure could be fantastic. Morttheus taking the... Oh, hang on.
Wow, yeah,
Mireu's on the way.
Tempered Fate and everything. Mireu's making his way over. Here's Paranoia. It's Disamis, level 11 with the extra range of the Nocturne. Flying in, 2 already dead on the PSG side. Betty flashes away. Mireu's in the smoke. Another 5-point strike to try to whittle Betty away. They will not get the kill. Disamis decided it's not worth it for the Herald. I don't care. Kill these guys, then we'll go back and get it later.
21, 22, 23, and 24. It was the CB LoL and LATAM America that were pushed out of Worlds by this region. But here, VKS fighting back. 4.5k gold lead. Rift Herald in their pockets. And with 20 minutes just around the corner, the opportunity to keep the pace of this game going is still there.
This is such a huge game for Brazil. Such a huge moment for VKS. If they can win this, eliminate PSG, break that curse that you're talking about of so many years falling to the regions that now comprise the LCP. For VKS, this would make them champions of Brazil more than they already are. This is the kind of performance that Brazilian fans want to see at Worlds. This is what they've been hoping for after the first 2 disappointing games that VKS showed on the stage so far. And honestly, Dagda, the VKS that I've been seeing here today, even in the game that they lost, are looking like a totally different team.
It's the VKS that came second, the VKS that pushed LTA North all the way to the finals to try and take them down. And once more, they're opening up in this mid wave. They have the Rift Herald, but they don't need to use it here. PSG Talon are just spread thin.
Yeah, even though the grubs did overall go to PSG, you've still got the 1 grub for that extra little bit of sizzle and spice on the turrets. Feels good for VKS to have that extra pushing power. Now, Otacon is on the Rift. And VKS fans will remember game number 2. Obviously, that game was much closer at this point, right? Only like 1,000 gold apart or somewhere thereabouts. So it was much easier to toss that advantage away. However, VKS still need to be careful around this objective.
But VKS this game seem to know what they want. It is picks on side lanes with Disamis and Mireu, making sure you can find these quick assassinations and not let PSG find a moment's respite. This is where PSG are dangerous though, when they can group up and when they can look for Morttheus. That Maple-Karsa combo still exists.
All right, PSG, they've got to try to stop this bleeding. They've got to survive these pick attempts from VKS, but Mireu is moving through the enemy jungle. He's setting himself up on the flank. Maple's about to face check into the Akali, but no, he throws the ball in instead. The lights are going off. Disamis is going in. The feathers have already flown, and now it's a little bit of danger for Disamis, but Mireu jumps into the back line. Karsa trying to get away, but a nice tempered fate there onto the enemy support. Woody is locked up, and Karsa's already down. It's 2 kills for nothing for VKS. Azhi gonna be your next target here. Cassante is tanky, but he's not tanky enough. They'll slam him back into the wall. They'll knock him down. Mireu's on a rampage, and VKS just murdered 3 of them.
Disamis is the feint, while Mireu is the hook that's following up behind it. Trymbi manages to catch Betty.
Betty's down. Beautifully done from VKS. Every time Disamis uses his ultimate, Betty immediately feather storms defensively to not get caught out. But that just means that as long as VKS can find that follow-up punch you're talking about, the Xayah is a sitting duck.
It's the dragon taken for VKS. And so much more in that fight. The gold firmly in their favor, control in their favor, but PSG, they're TPing in. They want to try and catch VKS before they can reset, but they're too little. It's too late.
This is desperation. There's not any time to possibly punish this, but let's take another look as Disamis flicks the lights.
And that's the thing, it's this fake engage from Disamis. He goes on to Betty and goes, peace, I'm out of here. Immediately gets away from all that damage, but opens up for Mireu to be the damage dealer in the back line. The ultimate onto Woody means that you don't have that safety net in the Braum when these assassins get into the back line. And honestly, the fact that Boal manages to stop the engage follow-up works perfectly. I think the hearts are racing for many a VKS fan.
Yeah, you could see the staff earlier in the game, the sadness on their faces when the level 3 invade didn't go so well, but now the happiness, the joy at the fact that they're this far ahead in the game. Everybody gathered around the top side here for the Otacon as PSG try to dig in and defend.
It's so difficult. VKS have so many ways to attack, they have so many ways to set it up, but PSG desperately want to try and find their moment, but I don't think Otacon is it. If you have this push in mid with the tier 2 tower already gone, you always have Disamis when that ultimate is available, who can shift over towards this top side. And Mireu is just sitting in the back line waiting for the engage.
Exactly, Mireu is always on the pincer. VKS want to try to take down this tier 1 turret before they really try to force anything hard. There's immediately your tempered faithfulness keeper's verdict. Now they're diving in on the carries, they're both dead! Maple and Betty are out of the picture, and Mireu's still hungry for more. Karsa, Woody, and Azhi all have to scatter as the carries get assassinated. Perfectly coordinated there. Keeper's verdict takes out the supportive roster. Tempered Fate locks up the turret so they can make the dive, and then they jump in. Maple and Betty die before there's anything they can do about it.
VKS just kicked in the front door and said, do you really think you're safe here? The golden key to take them down. The Otacon is theirs, the towers are falling, and it looks like VKS have found a way to take down PSG Talon against what so many people thought was going to be a done and dusted series.
VKS have truly turned things around in this series. Their first 2 games, everybody wanted to see more. It felt like the team wasn't finding strategies that worked. They weren't playing coordinated enough together to find any chance to win. They were making mistakes and throws, and now they're 41 flowers to 15. They're 9,000 gold ahead. They're in a great spot to win this game.
And they did it by taking out the heart of PSG Talon, taking out the 2018 MSI champion Karsa. 0-7 on this Naafiri. What was supposed to be a key part of the combo has been taken and shot and thrown to the curb, and it's nothing that he can do. He doesn't even own his own jungle anymore.
Yeah, VKS are ready to keep pushing on this one. They've got the experimental hex plate, completed for Disamis as well, so even more threat when this Nocturne moves in, as PSG still trying to claim their red buffs, trying to defend. At least they'll get the red, as VKS just take everything else from the enemy jungle. 4 turrets already taken by VKS. That mid lane tier 2 is down, side lane tier 2 is still standing. Baron on the board, Dragon spawning in 90 seconds.
And as long as Morttheus has his flash, it is difficult for PSG to really make the plays that could bring them back into the game. They want to try and find that pick, and Maple has enough damage in his kit right now to potentially do it. But as long as you have that flash in the Yunara, you have that safety net, and it makes it just even more difficult for PSG Talon to find these timing windows where they can make a play.
And we were talking about Maple's advantage early, about the early 2 kills that would then become 3 kills for the Orianna, the hyper-accelerated 10-minute Rod of Ages. But even that advantage, even that extra safety was not enough to stop this assassination comp on the side of VKS from working its magic. The Nocturne and the Akali providing the threat. Morttheus on his Yunara, 6, 2, and 9, providing the consistent DPS that's now accented by an infinity edge.
And it's the fact as well that, like, Mireu stopped off for the Seeker's arm guard. I was like, cool, I'm probably going to need this in the fight. But the fights have been going so well for VKS. He's now just opting to turn that needlessly large rod into a Rabadon's death cap instead, because he never had to burn that safety tool. But Disamis might need to get out of here. Very quickly escapes.
Exactly. He smites down the crab. He makes sure they have the extra vision for the upcoming dragon fight, and then he steps away. Morttheus just giving Azhi a little bit of a hard time here with a couple of auto attacks, but now backing towards the safety of his own tier 1 turret. Stun onto Karsa. Boal going to be your target here from Betty and the rest of PSG. Keeper's verdict, wants to knock somebody away, but he's stunned up into the wall instead. Disamis already exhausted. Nice blade caller there. Forces the flash of the VKS jungler. Disamis is down. PSG, they've locked up Mireu. They force him into the stasis. The Akali's in danger, but he jumps back away with a shuriken flip. PSG have found 1 kill and nearly a second. Mireu is still on the run. Betty has no summoners to try to chase. Maple's got his flash, but Mireu is still running. Karsa over the wall. He wants to try to catch this enemy mid laner. This could be the opportunity PSG needs to come back into the game. Trymbi buying time. Magical journey over the wall. Morttheus firing out the Arc of Triumph. Now Trymbi flashes. Stays alive for now. Keeper's verdict channeled again. Morttheus just firing back into the PSG lines. Mireu jumps in, and now Betty's in danger. He goes for the Feather Storm, but VKS turn it right back around. Mireu finally dies. Maple's getting away now. Azhi with a nice third and Tofo strike, putting the pressure onto Trymbi, who gets away through the Otacon wall. Now Boal scrapping with Azhi back and forth. Maple barely standing. Disamis has respawned. By the time he gets close to the fight, he'll have the paranoia.
I think, though, VKS just want to try and get away from this. They ended up grouping for Maple Shockwave, everyone around his teleport thinking they might have a chance, but Maple never used it in the initial engage. So the slow on the auto attack from Trymbi was huge because it gave Mireu the opportunity to escape. He still has the flash. The slow coming through onto these members was huge. And then Morttheus stepping forward, he has the damage. Maple went back to base, which was the go button for VKS. But watch as Maple comes in here. Everybody groups for the shockwave from Maple, which takes Morttheus low, which shuts down the Mireu on this Akali. And then the Cassante has enough to finish them off.
Ooh, some frustration on the VKS camp, but honestly, it looked like feelings of despair from the PSG staff side. They know that even if they found a couple of kills there, this game is still in dire straits.
But it's 8k gold that didn't look like that in that last fight. That looked like PSG Talon able to separate out the 2 assassins, deal with them in transit because Azhi could buy the space. But if they can find those fights again, maybe they have a chance. As it's Rabadon's death cap now complete onto Maple. It is a second dragon for VKS though, which makes these assassins much more durable as they jump into the backline.
And I do want to point out, because you mentioned it earlier, because he had to break his arm guard in the previous fight, Mireu instead decides to complete the Zhonya's hourglass to make sure that he can stay safe when he jumps in for these fights. So still a little bit longer to go before the Rabadons arrives for the Akali. Immortal Shield Bow completed now on Morttheus, so extra survivability here for the Yunara to make sure he doesn't drop. And even in the top lane, Dead Man's Plate completed now alongside the Fimbulwinter and the Sundered Sky for Boal. This guy now has even more opportunities to find those angles for the wall stuns.
And Trymbi, crucially, 2 items completed. The Redemption and the Lock is going to help to keep Morttheus safe from these PSG combos. But still, PSG are fighting well. Azhi is in a very strong spot. And if he can get access to Morttheus and to Mireu, that's where you have to start to stress as VKS.
Azhi, level 16 now on the Cassante, the highest level player on the PSG side. Boal going towards the bottom lane, looking to keep this pushing straight into the tier 3 turret, as he will provide an extra area of threat. And you can see now recalls being channeled on the PSG side. Critically for PSG, nobody has Unleashed Teleport. So as long as Boal drags somebody down here, he's got to teleport to join back up with the fight at the Baron, and that's going to give VKS, a macro advantage.
And even the damage that he has from the Sundered Sky, you can see the Poppy Shield there doing quite a bit of damage to that turret. So if he gets a little bit of alone time, that inhibitor turret on the bottom side will fall, and that'll be the base cracked for VKS. Slow and patient is the game for VKS. But you've also got to worry, like Orianna late game, Cassante late game. These are not picks that you just push over.
Disamis with his Guardian Angel completed as his 3rd item. Remember, in the previous game, around the Baron fight, it was Karsa's fed Jarvan with a Guardian Angel that made things happen. Now we'll see Trymbi getting away on a magical journey before he takes excessive damage from the PSG side. Boal going to go ahead and take a recall as VKS start up the Baron. TP coming in from Boal to join up with everybody else. Keep your eyes on the Keeper's Verdict. Depending on who he knocks away, that could be absolutely massive. Baron already down to half HP. Mireu Shuriken flipping away, does not want to jump back in onto Azhi. Boal and Disamis, the 2 doing the damage onto the Baron right now. PSG on the approach. Azhi jumps forward. Nice little lock up there with the Tempered Fate onto Karsa, but it already wears off. Baron down to 6K. VKS back away from the objective. PSG restarted at about half HP. The Scryer's Bloom is going to see them.
This is what PSG want, though, the front-to-back fight, and VKS know it. PSG feeling that this might be their moment to push VKS back.
And VKS will back away from that objective. Objective bounties falling off soon, even though PSG still down about 8,000. Boal, Mireu, and Morttheus just looking for any moment they could find. This game is so tense for an 8,500 gold lead, Dagda.
But that's because VKS know they need to take these fights with Mireu on a flank, to have a threat onto Betty, to have a threat onto Maple. Because if it's just front to back, and Azhi is able to walk at Mireu like he did in that last fight, they don't have what it needs to carry this through. It is an 8K gold lead, but we are fast approaching full items.
And now immediately Disamis jumps in after Karsa. The fear has already been applied, and the dog is in danger. Trymbi takes him out. Betty's your next target. Featherstorm already used, and Mireu is rooted up. He uses the second half of the ulti to get away, but it's a massive shockwave coming in from Maple. Azhi jumps forward into the front line, but he's taking a ton of damage. Glacial Fissure to try to protect the escape route. As more damage pours into Azhi's health bar, but he goes all out onto Boal. Azhi looking to make his escape. A little bit more damage from the top laner is not going to be enough here just yet. VKS, they kill the enemy jungler. Boal has to flash to try to get away. Another slam into the ground here with the Q. Boal is in danger. Where's the backup from VKS? PSG fighting for their lives. Boal stays alive. Azhi and Woody about to die outside of the base. And Maple is the only man standing. VKS, they ace him.
VKS have done it. VKS have found their moment with that magical journey into the base. It might be a magical moment to keep their dreams alive at Worlds 25.
Karsa, the only man standing. He's the one who died first. He has to try to defend here. He jumps in to find a single kill, but he will now drop. The Guardian Angel is the only thing to fall for Disamis. Nobody else is alive on PSG. This is Brazil! And VKS stay alive at Worlds 25.